fleshed them out. And so Kundalini Insight brings these two specialties together. And with the insight meditators, they really need they need a shot of something. They need some Shakti. Like, they really get dried out, these Dharma practitioners. They're kind of stiff. They're a bit stiff, and it's like a very cognitive and empirical minded, that's why intellectuals love it. It's like very dried out and heady, and why wouldn't it be? You spend so much time just working from this place of awareness. And even if you look at the monastic bunch, the crew, like, they're often, like their bodies are a complete wreck. They're not doing any dancing, and probably dancing is forbidden, because dancing would be some form of craving or trying to create a state of pleasure, enjoyment, right? And you hear me say over again, don't create anything and don't push anything away. But it's missing. There's some life missing there, and I would see that in those circles. There's some life. There's something missing. They need some dancing. They need to get laid. They need to dance. They need to go get wasted. They need to have some fucking fun, right? They're too, and I'm speaking, from experience here. Like, I was so on point, so ethical, so I can't do anything. Sorry, no fun, nothing. Like, I'm walking the path here. I can't break any of my many precepts. No, none of that for me. And then Kundalini kind of crashed into my world, in the manifestation, representation of my wife. And it's like, holy shit, now what's going on? Now we got crazy bass going all the time. I'm eating, steaks. I'm like, it's not the same, right? And then the Kundalini part is like, hey man, like, this is fucking life. Like, no one's perfect. Let's do this. Let's get messy. Let's get into the chaos. Let's let things unravel a bit here. You're too tight. You gotta let's get the spark going. And we all have this feminine and masculine, right? It's all in there. It's all mixed in there. And I don't mean in all the pronoun craziness and the non-binary this and that. I mean literally at the spiritual level, the feminine and the masculine. Not like the matriarchy versus the patriarchy. Okay? This is like, we've got these energies, but in these traditions we focus so much on one, the other one shrinks, it atrophies. So the Kundalini brings that rush of vitality and energy and the divine feminine quality, the receptivity, the singing, the dancing, the community, right? A lot of community, like talking, seva, service. There's a lot of service in Vipassana, in some of the Vipassana circles, not all of them. But it's just like that community. It's like conversation. It's like you spiritual practice, and then you're doing like a small group. Whereas in the 10-day meditation retreats and stuff like that, silence, right? Silence. It's all internal, going internal. Basically like as you were practicing by yourself. So very different styles, very different emphasis. But a beautiful tapestry, beautiful alchemy if you bring those two together. And that's what we've found, right? I mean, and we've gone deep and far in our individual practices. I've been doing insight meditation for more than 2 decades. I know there's people who have done longer than that. But it's not just about the length, but also the quality, how you're practicing, where you're getting, the stages of insight. It's not about just mindfulness. And same with the Kundalini. It's some people have Kundalini rising, some people don't. It's not good or bad, it's just different. So we both, and I went and did formal training in Kundalini yoga, and because I did that training, I was ostracized, rejected, excommunicated from my insight community to some extent, because they're not supposed to. They're like Romeo and Juliet, not supposed to go together. They're considered different families. It's literally, I think, on the application, if you put Kundalini yoga on a Goenka Vipassana retreat, good luck getting in. Maybe they let you in for one, but they're going to have their eye on you, that's for sure. And rightfully so, to some extent. It is a dangerous practice. Kundalini is a tantric practice There is danger of mixing spiritual practices, 100%. I do not recommend you just do this willy-nilly. I'm talking decades of practice before we started doing this integration. And the goal of the integration for us really isn't just about creating some new, the latest spiritual goodie bag, but really about that, bringing these two together and getting the juice from both sides, and actually making each practice stronger and each practitioner better because of that. It's like that cross-pollination, right? That's what it is, and that's what evolution is about, right? I mean, at least in the human sense, that sexuality became such an important part of avoiding parasites and disease and genetic disorders. It's like we bring these new, fresh energies, these new things together, and then create something that's more resilient out of it. So I would say the goal is to bring these together in a particular way that is respectful, understanding, and also careful. And my hope is that some people will just really be into the insight and they'll go and do that, and some people will really be into the Kundalini and then they'll go do that, and that's great. Like you go in that direction, wonderful. That thing would make me happier. But some people, maybe very few, will decide like, oh, I see that there is a tension, there is a balance here. I'm going to try and bring these together. I find that Kundalini is really good for being in the world. It is about being a master manifester. Can you imagine if you plan on sticking around in this life or the next, and you don't understand the laws and principles of the universe at the level of creating, co-creating, then you're really missing out. You're really not going to get that far. But if you're purely in this, I'm looking for the exit, I'm done, I've had enough of existence, and that's fair, then Vipassana is definitely it's your game. That's the way to go.